to the show. My guest today is Tom Lillywhite, a writer and aspiring filmmaker. And tell us more about yourself, Tom.
So I went to uni.
Yeah, many of us have.
Yeah.
I like to start.
Studied film 3 years. Loved it. Wanted a bit more physical, like filmmaking instead, though. It was a bit analytical for me.
Well, the course was mainly theory.
Yeah, pretty much. It was all following on from sixth form.
Right.
Which I only did 1 year of, so it was a bit too much for me.
And what drew you to film?
I don't know. I've just always loved it. Like when I was a kid, I never really knew what I wanted to do. And then my dad was just like, "Yeah, you like films? You seem to know more about it than me." So
yeah,
I just thought, actually, yeah, you know what? Media. I really enjoyed media. It's only a lesson I really paid attention to in school.
Fair enough. I mean, I've known you quite a while. I know your family's big into film and TV and that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's probably some part of it is the kind of family interest and.
Yeah, most of the like films I watched because of them. Like you see, DVD collection is pretty too big.
Pretty extensive.
Yeah,
pretty
good. Need to cut down.
No, to be fair, that's the way I usually judge people. When I go in their house, I have to look at their DVD collection first.
Oh God, you can.
That's how. And you know, sometimes I see it really rattles me when when they have films in a series, but they'll be out of order.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a bit OCD with it. But
yeah,
still,
no, that's fair enough.
not a lot of people know this about me, given that my page is mainly focused on things like politics. But thankfully we're taking a bit of a respite from that this week, and we're going to be talking mainly about film and TV, what's going on right now in film, and the sort of future. I like Tom. We go way back, and I like him. I've always had it in my mind for a good chunk of my life that I wanted to be a filmmaker as well. So I guess today we're kind of talking about the current state of film and whether we still see this going somewhere, whether it's going in a particularly good direction. So shall we throw over to some of the sort of news this week coming out of Hollywood? So the first thing I want to talk about, I think, launched today. The new trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I haven't. I have.
Right. Okay, so a little bit of context for people listening that might not know. So, how can you not know about this though? So, Sonic the Hedgehog trailer launch, drops on YouTube. God, how a few months ago now. Yeah. And needless to say, the design of Sonic not popular.
See, I wasn't that bothered about the design. I just thought the trailer overall looked pretty bad.
Oh yeah, God. To be fair, it still looks bad. The film. I'm sorry if I'm treading on anyone, but still, no, it doesn't look great. It looks very typical formulaic kind of family film.
Bad Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey looks kind of funny. I mean, I guess there's going to be. I was talking to someone at work today though who was saying, "I'll pay money to see it." I was like, would you?
Really?
Would you?
People wouldn't pay money to see anything.
I wouldn't line up for that, but
there's still Transformers movies being made.
Oh God! Do people go to the cinema to watch them though?
Yeah, of course.
I swear they're just going to start streaming those or something. But, back to the Sonic the Hedgehog thing. So, the original design, the trailer, it kind of looked a bit Uncanny Valley. It was kind of a weird human hedgehog hybrid.
If you look at the original, it's the big eyes, it's very
so this is the thing, and they say you never get anything through complaining, and apparently that's not true, because after massive sort of disastrous backlash from not just the fans but anyone with a pair of eyes at the original trailer, it's had such an effect that they've had to reanimate. They basically caved to the demands of the fandom and had to reanimate Sonic to make him look completely different. And to be fair, trailer dropped today, it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
Looks more like a hedgehog. Not some creepy fetish version of a hedgehog. It looked like a guy wearing a furry costume. Like an animated version.
I just think, I don't know, I think it's a good idea that they are reanimating it, but should you cave into fans? I think that's a bit...
That's the thing, why would you want it to look like human? It's Sonic, it's a hedgehog.
Yeah.
I mean, why?
Yeah.
But still, like, is this like is CGI getting worse, or it's like it seems to go up and down? Because then maybe it is just the money thrown behind it.
Yeah, I think
it has to be utter millions now to like do it well. The mocap stuff, motion capture.
Some of it just still looks awful, or just creepy.
Yeah, God, did you remember Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like the CGI of that was that was a big Warner Brothers. That looked terrible. It looked like a PlayStation cutscene.
That is the most DC films now.
Why? Like they got loads of money.
Yeah.
Why are they lazy?
I think you're right. I think just throw money in it.
That's the thing. Like, actually, I read this thing like recently. It was saying like how Justice League. Remember Zack Snyder dropped out at one point.
Yeah.
Like instead of giving him sort of time or like extending the release date, they the executives made sure it came out on the same date so they could keep their bonuses. So like that.
It's typical Hollywood, isn't it? Unfortunately.
That's kind of state. That's then again that's Warner Bros. In a nutshell, really, in terms of the DC stuff. Like it's just canned Marvel, really. It's trying to play catch up with the space of like.
It's every other one that's.
I don't think anyone's going to be. This is the thing about this shared universe thing. It's not bankable for. Well, you know what I mean. Like it's not the payoff is not going to come for a long time.
Yeah, because they haven't.
Marvel's had the investment exactly. Yeah. Like that's what they have over them. Like they started this crazy experiment like over a decade ago, and it's really paid off. You can't play catch up. Expect to play catch up in the same amount of time.
Pretty much one film. But then they can come out with something like Joker or like Wonder Woman.
Well, Joker. Actually, I'm glad we came onto this because Joker's, well, we'll discuss that in a minute. But the news or lack thereof around Joker. But that's the thing. The Joker movie seems to its core sort of thing is that it diverts a lot from superhero kind of stuff from DC's usual catalogue.
Definitely.
Like it didn't seem like a DC film.
No, not
like the same studio apparently made Suicide Squad, made Joker.
Yeah, I don't know if they can if they combine them, it would really work between that big CGI heavy kind of films like Suicide Squad and Justice League, and then combine that with a low budget.
But yeah, less is
human
more.
Film,
I say
like
in that regard, less is more. I mean, maybe not on every occasion. You got to have your big. You got to have your Infinity War and Endgames, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But that wasn't even the first Avengers wasn't quite that.
But yeah, fast, it's still quite a big thing. But it's not always about that. You have to have these human stories at the heart of it to ground the things.
Otherwise, they're not believable characters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like, are you going to want to keep going back to the cinema? Like, do you feel an obligation to go to the cinema to catch up with what, Ben Affleck's Batman, who is not even Batman now?
Yeah.
Well, Robert Pattinson now.
Quickly, didn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So they don't even stay that long. Robert Downey Jr. has been with Marvel for like a decade. So all of them have been there for ages. And you don't have the same kind of commitments across, like, say, the DC universe.
No, of course.
No one's really done more than
failing.
3 films or something like that. But yeah, back to the Joker thing, because of course the biggest story around Joker was the fact that, all this criticism over its apparent glorification of, violence and murder and all the things that Joker is about. And they said, many critics in the media were saying that it was going to inspire copycat killings. It was going to, promote violence. Gun violence was going to go up, knife violence. And none of it happened.
Yeah,
absolutely none of it happened. Like the media were actually sitting around, they were basically poking it with a stick, hoping it would do something, and it just never happened because.
I think they were worried after the whole Dark Knight thing, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess but that, to be fair, that was I remember them. Another one of these critics really pushed that. They were saying like, something akin to that is going to happen. They even certain cinemas actually hired additional security or something for the premiere, not because they thought that sort of stuff was going to happen. But I think that was, as horrible as it was, still a very isolated incident.
Yeah, of course.
And again, not necessarily linked with film violence, which is what they said this would be. Which is really weird that they said that it would inspire violence on the premiere nights. So before anyone had seen it, it would apparently promote violence on the night it was shown.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that,
but yeah, that's the thing about this this debate seems as old as time, but
it happens every time, doesn't it?
Is there a correlation between violence in cinema or TV for that matter? Quentin Tarantino's pretty much been at the end of the poll with this kind of stuff. At the end of the poll, is that a real thing? I don't think it is. You know what I mean?
He always ends up.
He's been under attack for ages, like on this very issue. What do you think about it? I mean, this can't be a thing, right?
I think it just happens every time there's a big film like this that is tend to be glorifying violence. But I think film's been doing that since I can remember. Films like, okay, maybe not way back in the day, but more recently, like Scorsese, which is of course ironic considering his comments about Marvel.
Oh God, yeah, we have to come to that. So he said they weren't cinema. So I think this was in a piece in the New York Times by Scorsese, where he, essentially he said he was really saddened at the current state of film. In that kind of the superhero, fad that's still going on at the moment. He said it's not really cinema. It's kind of this. He still gave to his credit. He still really praised the actors involved and that kind of who he said were doing the best they could under the circumstances. But he said ultimately, this kind of canned superhero stuff that is just cranked out by Hollywood.
He's right.
It's totally true. I mean, we're saying Marvel as well, but it's Disney. So this is another thing with Disney. They're doing the same sort of stuff with Pixar.
Exactly. They're just using the same directors,
Yeah.
and for all of them, I think it's just a bit like you're replacing them.
There's like a new sequel to every classic every classic like Pixar franchise, like Toy Story or anything like that. It's just cranking them out now. Like Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Did you even see that?
No.
I haven't even seen it.
I've seen bits.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
I think I've just lost it.
3 was the
people are going
perfect
to take
ending.
their kids. Like obviously they drop them every, school holiday season, that kind of thing. So obviously you're going to make money off of it. Loads of kids are going to see it and they're going to love it.
Yeah.
But is it worth it in terms of the other angle of film? Obviously, the business side of it is to make money, but in terms of the
artistic side,
well, that's the question, isn't it? And that's, I guess, what Scorsese is arguing about. It's the artistic merit, the artistic side of. Is that Hollywood has always been this. It's a corporate kind of thing. It's a massive business. So, but is the art being lost in that?
I think so, a little bit. I think obviously, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed some Marvel films. Who doesn't? But I get his point. They're becoming like clones. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
They're released every year. And I think it's the same with the other films as well. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously they're using Jon Favreau for the Star Wars TV series and
or the Mandalorian.
And Jungle Book as well.
And some bad reviews.
Yeah,
this morning.
Yeah.
I think on the Guardian it was 2 stars or something like that. And it's just, no.
Seen 1 star.
Again, really?
I mean, there's judging from the pilot, so you can never tell.
Yeah, exactly. No, we'll give it its due, but that's another thing as well, because this is streaming. Also, it's Disney.
It's released today, I think, wasn't it?
So, what's it called? Disney Plus?
Disney, yeah.
And so is everything on there now? Like, I guess I haven't used it.
It hasn't been released here yet. Not until.
But Disney Plus is still. Wait, is it in the UK yet?
Not yet.
Oh.
No, next year.
Oh.
Yeah, but in America.
Right.
But they're gonna pull everything from Netflix. I'm pretty sure.
God, there's too many streaming. So what's going to happen to Netflix? People are gonna, unless you're gonna pay more.
Thing is, Netflix they can have anything on there, but Disney surely can only. I mean, obviously there's a lot of Disney films.
That's everything basically.
True, but they still can't. They can't. Surely the superhero genre is going to start to fail at some point.
Then again,
just like the Western.
Yeah, but then again, Disney. I mean, they own Miramax, don't they? So they could put on stuff like Pulp Fiction and
Pulp Fiction 2,
The Crying Game, and then that on there.
Yeah, true. But yeah,
a load of Kevin Smith films on, on Disney Plus.
It would surprise me, definitely.
Is streaming the way to go? Because I'm kind of bored of Netflix. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's the UK one. Because
does anyone go to cinemas anymore? Last few times I've been, there's been hardly anyone there.
It feels like an inconvenience now. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, no,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's never really the time. I guess you can just do so much more at home.
Yeah,
you can pause it when you want, wear what you want.
Yeah.
Take up as much leg room as possible and all of that.
It's easy to go
I'm
through.
not attracted to cinemas. Really, it's a lot of people usually. Well, that's. Yeah. I really only go to see sort of big ones.
It's expensive.
Like I think the last one I went to go see at, let's say, Odeon, was Endgame, Avengers Endgame. So, and there were a lot of people in it. It was so hot. There's no leg room. It's like a 3-hour film. You have to hold it that entire time. It's just terrible.
You got to buy food as well, really.
Exactly. So more about. Let's go back to your aspirations as a filmmaker. What was it about? You said what's interested you about film, but what makes you think that you can pull it off?
I'm not sure.
That's a very cutting question.
Yeah, that was a bit deep, really. I don't know.
Might as well. Yeah. Is that the kind of? Actually,
I think it's kind
great.
of like. Yeah, I've always liked directors. I mean, most people, normal people, go for actors. They're always all about the actors, and directors always get a bit, put in the background a little bit. And I've always thought, I'd rather be in the background. I don't want to be put up, on the stage.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, I've always felt that way as well. Because, to be honest, I kind of got my start in acting, and I used to, my parents enrolled me in acting classes after school when I was a kid. Sort of continued that on, did drama, GCSE, and things like that. But then I think at a certain point it kind of dawned on me, like I'd always had more fun. Let's say in like drama class, I'd always had like more fun in the devising and the kind of setting it and directing side of it, and that's what I think. At some point it clicked. I was like, I prefer this being. Well, not necessarily prefer. It's more like I can take or leave the being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Say, but I really want to be behind it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me it was a pretty open. Like I still don't really see myself going into acting. I mean, I don't know. It really depends. I mean, there's always when you're starting out low budget and things like that, you're probably going to have to be in your films anyway.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, that's pretty much my angle as well. I hated even being on my films.
Oh God,
I hated it and then just thinking.
But then again, I've hated. That's a good point, because I've hated acting in my own, let's say, like student films or short films I've done. I hated acting in them. But when I was asked to act in someone else's, a friend of mine was doing a short film, and I hated it even more because I had no say in kind of anything going on. I just I didn't really care for it. I was in a costume as well.
At least you could hide yourself a little bit.
I don't know. It was a pretty. What's the? I think I was a prince, so I think. I mean, this wasn't great. It wasn't that well written. Sorry, man, if you're listening, and and I'm trashing your film, but this is how we learn.
Savage.
But why why is film and TV so important? Like the role that it plays in society.
Because you could so easily turn it into propaganda, really, couldn't you? It has been.
Whoa, that's the
history.
That's the first thing you say. It's not like, oh, it's important because I don't know, we must preserve
right.
stories or something. It's like, oh,
No,
it's effective propaganda machine.
You should be wary of it, of course.
Oh yeah,
Definitely. Because it does influence. It influences everyone, just like music or art.
I guess it's about consumption, really, isn't it? It's about how much of it you consume.
It's everywhere. I mean, it's what do you talk about to
is
your
that,
co-workers about?
Is that film and TV though? Because you know we're mixing in another everything. The thing about media is everything is blended together now. It's on one. It's kind of on a. It might as well be on a timeline. Like that will probably be the next app. Just one big timeline of you just scroll through it. And it's like Facebook. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Probably gonna have to pattern this, but no, but like that's what will be getting. It will all just be homogenous. It is anyway. It all spills into each other.
Consoles,
you got your news in your film, and you got your TV in your parliament.
It was always games with consoles, right? But now it's all about getting to Netflix, getting to Spotify, all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing. It's the on-demand aspect of it. It's the whenever you want. The thing about so when I was a kid, I used to watch TV in the same way like kids watch TV. You watch CBBC, ITV, Cartoon Network if you're lucky, things like that, Nickelodeon. But the first real show I got obsessed with was Doctor Who. I think I was about 8 or 9 when the
first one came out.
When the revived... I was about 9 or 10. No, about 9. When the revived series came out in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston. And that was the first show I've ever watched. Like an actual fan.
So remember what you watched.
Exactly. And you had to be at the television 7 p.m. every Saturday night.
Yeah.
Or you would miss it.
Yeah.
We didn't have...
It's almost like Simpsons.
Catch up. We didn't have the iPlayer or any of that. I think BBC, a little bit in, BBC Three started airing the repeat on Sunday. Remember repeats? It might as well be now. But
on demand, yeah.
Exactly. It'd be like a rare sighting, but that was a completely different kind of viewing experience. It was kind of this church in a way. It was like you have to attend this time every week for that time slot. You will just basically worship the television. If anyone makes noise in the living room, they're dead.
I mean, even when we had VHS, it was difficult. You had to set it to a certain time when you want to watch something.
To record. We lost so many good shows that way.
Tapes get ruined
because they never work. It's like I swear I put it on 1 and it's recorded channel 5. Something like that. God,
get to see a bit of antique shows. God,
when you had to record stuff, VHS. Kind of miss that though. It's kind of harder to do now. Then again, we used to just have tapes lying. That was kind of a weird time. We just had tapes lying around.
True, yeah.
Big plastic boxes. Just lying around. What's on these? There's films. Okay.
So when do you
imagine explaining that now, bringing that out now. It's like, what is it's a videotape. It's what's in it? It's got a film in it. Just one. Yeah, just one. It's bigger than an iPhone.
No, you get the little menu as well. Sometimes little extras or something. That's what I miss.
I remember having a VHS copy of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and there were bonus scenes, but you had to wait until the end of the credits, and then there was 5 minutes of just black and silence, and then it would play so that was before even DVD menus. That's ridiculous. Wow. Let's talk about you. Are you working on anything at the moment?
Yeah. I'm writing a few scripts. You know how it is. You get started on one thing and then
I know.
You kind of forget about it, come back to it, and then maybe start something else.
I've been working on this book for a while at the moment. I've kind of run into a bit of a wall, but I've just decided to take a bit of a break from it now. But that's the thing. Once you take a break from, we'll have to take the breaks from something. But once you do that, you start thinking of other stuff.
Of course, yeah. It's hard to get back to. I think actually going back to it, I think that's one of the reasons that I decided to go into film, because I remember trying to write a book and it was just too hard. I just couldn't do it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I just rambled on, but it's a lot harder to ramble on in a script.
You're never satisfied with it.
I like the way the fact that a script is formatted. It's not like a book where you can just ramble on, like some writers do, page and page where it's just describing stuff. But with a script, it's quite concise. You put in what you want, like different.
It's a very clear. It's just like a minute. The rule is kind of minute a page. That's useful as well.
That definitely, yeah.
80 to 90 page script.
Yeah.
90-minute film basically.
Yeah, pretty much. You put on different camera angles.
You end up when you're writing action. What you're doing is kind of setting it up for another artistic piece of input later, because you have to devise how you're doing that action scene. How that actually looks on. It might not necessarily be the job of the writer either, but it's for someone to use that. And I know what you mean there, because it is just it does feel like a lot more work. I've always preferred editing scripts as well. Editing a book is like
I can't even
ridiculous. It's diving into an ocean.
But that can happen with film as well.
No, yeah, true.
Especially with music. So if you put a song in a scene, you automatically hate that song because you just play it over and over again when you're.
That's really weird.
So you just kind of you always put in your favourite songs and then just kind of get sick of them after.
Yeah.
Because you've heard them 6,000 times.
What are you working on at the moment? Film, TV?
A bit of both actually, I think.
Bit of both?
Yeah, because I always thought I'd be a filmmaker, not TV. But now we've got the golden age of TV, and they really have blended. And it does feel like pretty much the same thing.
Sorry to cut you off. What would you define as the golden age of TV? So you just said right now.
I mean, this might be biased because I'm a big fan, but ever since the start of Breaking Bad, it does feel like...
I was just going to go to Breaking Bad.
Of course.
That's an unfair standard, sir.
I know, but... Yeah, okay, but there is other stuff. But it has come after Breaking... It does feel like it, anyway.
After Breaking Bad?
But it does feel like the defining moment.
I get it. No, I get it. Yeah.
I hate to be that guy that always mentions it, but
But is it over already, of that kind of era? I don't know. I'm not really...
Oh, no, it's not over. But it will have to be at some point.
Yeah. I mean, we recently started watching Watchmen on HBO. Whoa. What is going on? We're 4 episodes in at this point. We still have no idea what's going on. It somehow gets more confusing as it goes. With the more we know, the less we know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're having the right reactions to it, but still.
I mean, I don't know what to think of it. I kind of love it. I don't hate it.
I love it. But we're halfway through the season.
Don't understand.
It's going to be one of those slow-paced payoffs.
I've always liked things I don't really understand.
Yeah, it's just Legion.
It's the predictable films and TV that are the worst.
Yeah, God. That's the thing. I want to be challenged. That's in some way. I want it to provoke a thought in me. Make me consider something.
Of course. I think that's why Joker had such a big impact, because it definitely gives you.
Maybe. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I'm not really up there with the people that is hailing it as Empire said film of the year and that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. Really. No, it's not that. A lot of films have this kind of same equality. It is. I felt it had a lot of flaws still. Mm-hmm. I still feel it was a really good film, really good performance.
Of course.
I don't know what the best film I've watched this year. I can't really pin it down.
Same. It's getting hard.
Very hard. It's a bit. Who knows? I did enjoy Endgame, things like that, but again, that was
I think the first one was actually a lot better.
Yeah, but also I'm kind of
maybe because
I'm kind of with Scorsese on this in some way, not maybe to the extreme that he did, but in the sort of sense that I just prefer the other kind of stuff, the more grounded kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Is film even worth working in at the moment?
Of course,
I kind of. Yeah, but I
Always
mean,
is,
it's the kind of way, because you were saying, you know, you said the art gets compromised regardless, because if you go with a studio, they're going to insist on changes. But if you go independent, you're going to have to make compromises, because you're not going to have money.
Of course.
You're not going to have names necessarily attached. You know, no one's going to give you a leg up. Or, exactly. Or you're going to have to, you're either going to distribute yourself, or got people going on Kickstarters.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, it's worth.
There have been successful films.
You know, JD Scrubs.
Zach Braff. Yes, he did a film, but JD as Scrubs.
Is he not JD at Scrubs?
He is totally JD as Scrubs. But yeah. Let's talk about Heatwave.
Right. Well,
in the summer of 2015, Tom and I wrote a screenplay together.
Yes, we did.
What was that screenplay about, Tom?
So it's a screenplay about two students, well, soon-to-be students, about their lives, based in, what was it, Colchester?
I think it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was written in our hometown of Colchester. As I recall, so Heatwave was the title because at the time we wrote it during a heat wave. Very meta commentary there. But no, yeah, it was about, like, it was essentially, it's about us. They were based on us.
Yeah.
Like the two characters who were sitting in the garden just talking about stuff. And me and Tom wrote this over a 6-week period in that summer.
Must have been, yeah. It's kind of mostly every day.
Every single day would be up until, oh my god,
ridiculous hours.
Sometimes like 8 in the morning. Just writing on the script. We'd have the old Celtex up. Oh, good old Celtex.
Can't beat it.
By the way, Celtex is a free script writing software. It's very handy for people who are trying to write scripts, and that's not a advertisement. You know, it's completely free.
Nice. Just
have that on.
Is there anything else? You know, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, but yeah. So we wrote this film over the course of like 5 or 6 weeks. And it was essentially just about conversations.
That's how it started out.
There was there was a kind of plot. You know, it's not like it was badly written. It was like it deliberately was. It felt almost plotless at times, but there was a kind of driving, you know, event around the narrative. But
no planning really.
No. We just wrote it as we went. And this was actually a very unique experience. I usually just write my own.
Oh yeah, no, so do I. I always write my own as well. But I do. That's how I write. It's just
it went really well.
No planning. I prefer it that way.
Yeah, you know, that's I think the biggest snag I hit on my book recently, because I tried to plan too much of it, and
that can happen.
And I think that's where I've run into problems.
Sometimes you should just film instead of.
Or just write.
Yeah,
you should just write.
Of course, yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. You know, and it was a really good experience.
I loved it.
I don't know when the hell we're going to make it.
Edit it.
Or edit it, because it's been years.
It has been.
So much has happened since.
It's going to be very strange.
It's going to be very strange going back into it when we finally do.
Yeah, will we?
Whenever we do. So. Well, that's the thing. Look, I've been idle in this filmmaking stuff.
It's easy to.
I know, but it's like, you know, the writing part not so much. I've still been writing stuff. I wrote a few episodes of a TV show. You remember last year?
Yeah, it was really
actually did a lot of work went into that. And you know, someday I hope to do something with it, but I just don't know. Part of that is putting yourself out there, and you know, keep doing it and that kind of thing. Getting involved with the right people and right contacts. So much about networking. I don't know, that appeals to me though.
That's always bad, isn't it?
It's going to be. It's bound to happen.
That's what we're always told. You know, it's about who
you know.
It's like the most common phrase used.
But part of it as well is I need a crew. I need like a crew of people or something, like, you know, a team to sort of
always
work
requires
with.
some kind of money, even to get to the locations. You know.
Exactly.
It's not going to be costless.
Just people pulling together, that kind of thing. Even with student films made in the past, at least there were people always available.
Of course, yeah, that made filming a lot easier.
It's so hard to get people, and rightly so. You know, we're in our mid-20s, like to
almost
get people free and to put in their time for Probably nothing to start
Yeah.
with.
Oh, yeah. Normally nothing, isn't it?
Or absolutely, maybe some profits if it is that kind of film, but nothing really.
I think distribution would be the hardest. Surely, if anything. That's why college was so easy. You just used it for your projects.
Yeah, I wish I'd done more at uni
and
taken advantage of the stuff that they had.
I wish my tests were based on projects. I'd get a lot higher grade.
But that's the thing as well, because my university degree is in film and television studies, and it was mainly theoretical. Like, there was some filming involved, some practical stuff. I took a couple of script writing and creative writing courses, which were really good. But I don't know, some of it was just like, was this the right thing to do to actually get into filmmaking?
Probably
a lot of it was just...
a lot of it for teaching film, I think.
Oh God, or like historian kind of stuff.
Film critics and stuff like that. More literature than...
I don't think I wasted my time. Because at the end of the day, you learn so much, you end up watching so much. And
not the same person.
Yeah, that's true. But writing things now, I mean, where do you sort of start with it? That's the thing, because you always have to...
It's the hardest. I think characters, that's how I normally, like, what would these two characters, normally two, be doing at a certain point in time,
So that's how you start. Yeah, let's talk about the process. So, your writing process is character first.
Normally I've got some notes, on my phone.
Yeah.
And they're very rough notes, just ideas I've had in my head. Sometimes dreams, sometimes just random thoughts I get in the shower, on the bus, on a bike a lot,
Yeah.
Just when you're not really thinking about anything else. Obviously, keeping your eyes on the road, but...
your mind's kind of drifted there.
And then you just kind of...
That's why I like to sit in the garden sometimes and just... Not at the moment, it's bloody freezing. But...
the garden is...
But usually when I get home from work, I put the phone on the table and I go outside. I just sit there for a bit and sort of think, and that's where I get the best ideas.
Luckily we live fairly rurally. Well, me maybe more than you, but there's not a lot of noise outside, so it's quite easy to get peace, think about, ideas.
For me, it's always like it kind of starts with an idea, not necessarily characters. The characters I tend to come afterwards.
More set.
Or just situations, or maybe I'll read something.
The thing is, you couldn't do situations without characters.
I guess it's kind of like a rough. It's definitely happened to me, but I often change. Like if I base something on something true, let's say, because it happened,
That's
ideas
more
before.
difficult, I feel.
And you've read something. No. I don't mean like adapting something from history. I just mean like I don't know. You read something in the paper, or something like that, or something that gives you an idea.
I get that.
And or like a situation between that could happen. That's where I usually start.
News is quite good.
It usually starts
kind of stuff.
with me with a what if question. What if this happened?
Okay, so a bit like Tarantino with Inglourious Bastards.
Exactly. So for me, it's more. X is the situation.
Right.
The what if, and then the Y is the character. So X happens. So X happens and therefore Y happens.
Okay.
Like something therefore this character does this. It's usually reactionary. So it's X happens and then so does Y.
I get that. Yeah.
And then, to be honest, probably my biggest influence in the writing process is Joseph Campbell. Have you heard of him?
Rings a bell.
So Joseph Campbell was very brilliant academic in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. Best known for his work, the Hero of 1,000 Faces, and he's credited with coming up with what's called the monomyth. And the monomyth is essentially, now he in his life analysed hundreds of myths, folklore, and religious iconography and stories and that kind of thing. And he basically discovered that in every single story there's this process that forms a circle, that like a cycle in every single story, that begins with a character, and they want something. And in their attempt to get what they want, they travel into the unknown, into the unfamiliar territory, it's a process then of adapting to that unfamiliar surrounding and gaining what you wanted, what you set out for, and paying a price for that. And then finally it culminates in the return in some way to the, you know, to the beginning essentially, but having changed, and that's the major thing. So every single story essentially, there are many other sub steps on that cycle, but they don't necessarily happen in every single story. The best example of which pretty much all of them do happen is in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is something like 3,000 years old, oldest myth that we have on record.
Wow.
And yeah, that's actually quite a perfect example of the monomyth, of this, how every single story is essentially a story of transformation over a set course of events, about, you know, going into the unknown and paying a price, and, you know, adapting and paying a price, and it's all about that fundamental change that happens at the end. So you essentially return to it's kind of like Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, where you know, at the end he returns to the Shire, but he has changed, and eventually that leads on, you know, in Lord of the Rings, where he leaves the Shire and that kind of thing. You know, and that's that. It's the same thing in Lord of the Rings as well. You know, Frodo again, you know, goes on into the unknown, and again he, you know, returns, but something's changed.
I think it would be quite hard to find a film that doesn't apply to.
Exactly, it's all about death and resurrection, and
maybe 2001.
Yeah, that's a different kind of film.
Yeah, maybe because it doesn't have
it's a non-traditional kind of story. Yeah. But I guess there is a kind of, you know,
maybe
cycle as well. Definitely. Depending on your interpretation of it, there is a kind of cycle.
I think you can interpret that film in a lot of different ways.
Oh god, yeah. That's where I usually start. And yeah, I think my problem recently is because I've tried to have too much control over stuff instead of just letting it write. That's a very tacky thing to say, but
big cliche, but
to let it write itself. But
yeah,
essentially, what happens, 90% of what comes out in the end is just there when you're, you know, sitting there and typing or writing, however, you know, on a notepad, however you do it.
Yeah, mine's notes. To be fair, notes on the phone. If it was always easier, just because when you're having thoughts,
like when
you've always got your phone on,
I do that as well.
These days, everyone always has a phone on them, so it's just easy. You know, when do you ever have a notepad next to you? Really,
it's true. So, any films that you're looking forward to?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't think of anything.
The Irishman, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that does look. And have you heard about the
That's
the Lighthouse?
What's the Lighthouse?
Robert Pattinson. Looks very good.
Okay.
Two men in a light.
Two men in a lighthouse.
I think it's a drama.
A drama.
I do.
Okay.
With a bit of horror element.
Well, guys, that's all we got time for today. Very big thanks to my guest, Tom Lillywhite. Thanks so much for joining us, mate.
Cheers, man.
And we hope to see more of you in the future. Tune in next week and make sure to follow CR Strang on Facebook if you haven't done so already. Peace, guys.